Welcome to Disruptor Digest, the top disruption business show. We dig up the secret playbooks used by first movers, featuring the latest tools, technologies, and science, ensuring you won't fall behind or succumb to FOMO, to singularity and beyond.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mihai Curtiz with my longtime collaborator, Victor Tabori. Welcome to this exciting episode about AI image generation. Today, we share our future-proof image generation protocols and insights that will stay useful, whether you're using today's Midjourney V5.1 or a far future update like Midjourney V20. We'll dive into the mysteries and hidden insights to stay ahead of your competition and explore the core of AI image generators, including Midjourney, DALL-E, and Stable Diffusion. Misunderstandings about AI image generators are widespread, and we're here to dispel them. We'll reveal how these generators don't just copy and paste, but operate in a latent space. This means they intricately comprehend and combine elements such as style, lighting, and composition, offering an unprecedented level of creative freedom. We'll discuss how Midjourney's rapid feedback loop helps them offer unmatched quality over competitors. While it may be an excellent choice for small-scale projects, we reveal why custom models are superior for enterprise-level applications. Beyond Stable Diffusion, we'll also explore how AI tools like DALL-E, Canva AI, Adobe Firefly, and Lumen 5 are transforming the visual AI landscape. We also highlight pressing issues surrounding privacy, societal impact, and copyright concerns with AI image generators. Lastly, we won't overlook the practical tips. Unleash the creative power of AI by drawing inspiration from training datasets, curated styles of renowned directors or artists like Wes Anderson, and even the simple shot on iPhone prompt for realism. We also touch on how to stay ahead in areas from logo design to e-commerce. Visit disruptordigest.com for comprehensive show notes, essential links, and a raw transcript of this episode. Plus, sign up to unlock our detailed protocols filled with examples, no secrets, we hold nothing back. Fasten your seatbelts, disruptors. It's time to dive in. So, Victor, AI image generation. What do you think? What is the most important goal of today's episode?
We would like to focus on the results, which you can get instantly, and trying to not hop on that hype train. And I would like to start with my favorite Jeff Bezos quote, which said that a lot of people are asking what's going to change in 20 years. And almost no one is asking what is not going to change in 20 years. Because what stays the same, you can actually build a business upon. So it's like people are going to need cheaper prices, faster delivery, better quality, bigger assortment in 20 years as well. And if you think like this on a strategic level, instead of some tactics like how to deliver with a car faster, then you can think laterally. So you can think of automated delivery, predictive delivery as well, drone delivery, and also teleportation. So if you're not sticking to specific tactic, instead of trying to stay on a meta level and think on that level, you can stay relevant and build a business. And we want to deliver the same thing for you regarding AI image generation. So we want you to be undisruptivable, which is not even a word, I just made it up, but it's basically focusing on the meta strategy and focusing on what's staying the same, what need is constant, and which strategy is constant, instead of trying to chase the hype train. And it's basically going to help you to stay relevant when you are using Midjourney V7. And I'm trying to be cautious here because I don't want to be banned from Midjourney that I saying that the Midjourney V7 is something I have access to. So it's not true.
And currently the newest version is version 5.1, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
That's
right.
So a few months to get V7.
Yeah, a few weeks. Yeah. So a quick disclaimer, for those who are listening on an audio only, we try to make this useful for them as well. So since we are going to discuss high-level, actionable, instantly actionable things, it's going to be useful for those who are only listening. But if you can obviously watch us on YouTube, let's please watch us on YouTube and subscribe and like the video. Also, if you don't start now, obviously you are going to fall behind. So we would like to hold your hand and help you to not fall behind. So that's our goal as well.
Okay, so even if you're an artist or an entrepreneur, if you don't start to play around with these things, then in a few months, somebody else will be so much faster, so much quicker to make images and make similar things. So this is the best time to start, right?
Yeah, right. Just before we start, let's share with the listeners what we are learning about podcasting, because we did a lot of research and we would like to share in really just 2 minutes each episode what we learned, what is working and what not. So can you summarize it, please?
Yeah, so we want to make this episode more actionable. And that's why what we are doing is that we are using a service called Assembly AI, which is a genius software. We can give them a YouTube video link about a podcast. It can be up to 5 or 10 hours long podcast, and it makes a transcription and it summarizes. And also we can ask about what are the more actionable parts of this podcast and what are the key takeaways. So with this, we were able to consume more than 10 hours of podcast about AI image generation. So we will be able to tell everything, every actionable thing that the most viral and the most watched podcast about AI image generation talked about, and also everything that they missed.
Yeah, right. And also we have a lot of friends who not just doing podcasts, but some of them have podcasting agencies as well. So they help others to do podcasts. And also in the My First Million podcast, what comes up very frequently that podcast marketing is extremely tough. So we made a research of what can be done, and we had a list of 67 items on it. So it's more than enough for the next 10 years. So we would like to share on that topic as well. So what we are trying, what is working and what not. So with anything further ado, let's jump right into it to start with the Evergreen AI image protocol. So let's start about what angles can be used to generate images, which are going to be useful in 5 years as well. Does it sound good?
Of course, let's get into it.
Most of the AI image generation softwares were trained on Lion 5B data sets, and it's basically a huge data sets of images and accompanying text. And actually, you can search this corpus. So there's a website called haveibeentrained.com. And if you go there, you can search for your name, but not just for your name. If you want to do something like a logo, if you want to do like a portrait, if you want to see what kind of images are in the training set from your favorite artist or that sort of images, then you can search by text. But also if you find something which is inspiring, so you come across some extremely nice image, you can put it into it like an image search. So you just searching on an image and it searches the training data set of similar images. And why is it genius? Because then you can get inspiration and you can see the exact text, the exact description. So the most important and the toughest job of AI image generation is first coming up what you want to do, and then coming up with the exact text which describes the result you're trying to achieve. So it's genius because you can actually search the data set on which almost all of the image generation models were trained on. And then you just search for a keyword like logos, you search for a keyword like portraits or landscapes and those kind of things. And if you find something which resonates with you, you can see the exact text of what is the description of that image. And then you can copy that text or modify that text and copy into Midjourney. You can copy to Stable Diffusion or any kind of image generation software. So this is one of the biggest secrets in AI image generation. And why we are here. Reverse image search is actually the strongest tool in the tool set. Why? Because you cannot just use this have I been trained. You can actually use Google image search as well. So it's obviously searching like the whole internet of images.
I'm just trying it and it's looks similar to the Google search, and if you click on images, this haveibeentrained.com.
Yeah, exactly. But even Google reverse image search is just like you can drag and drop an image to it. Or if you find a good image, you can just drop the URL into the search box. It's even said like find similar images. So it's quite neat that on Google, if you got inspiration from somewhere, then you can look up similar images and see what is the accompanying text. So how is it described? And that's genius because then you can copy the text itself. So that's kind of like the second biggest hack. And the third biggest hack is getting inspiration from top lists. So this is the one most important thing. So if you just listen to this episode this far and you want to take away just one thing, please take away this, because this is instantly quadrupling, skyrocketing your results. I try to not sound too hypey, but if you go to, for example, Midjourney top list, because Midjourney is paid, but if you have an account, you log in, then there's like the top images. But also if you go to lexica.art, which is free, or you go to leonardo.ai, which is about generating game assets. But the genius thing, if you have an account and you just log in, then you can scan through the nicest images you can find. And there's an exact prompt. And you can copy it. and then you can modify it. For example, our cover art, where a person is running away from a robot, it's actually coming from Midjourney, because in Midjourney, a person was taking a selfie and running away from a bear. So that was the base image. And I kind of like liked it and just modified it that a person is taking a selfie running away of a scary, and just replace the bear with a robot. So that was it. So I could generate something which is nice extremely quickly without coming up with all the prompt engineering things, just by curating already existing AI generated images or just images in general. So this is the most important takeaway.
I see a trend on Twitter that people who generate images with AI, they put the whole prompt in the alt text. So if you click on the bottom left corner of these images, that you will see the whole prompt. And I think the prompt now is the actual art, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, curation is actually the art itself. So you have to have taste first and foremost. So generating images is easy. It's almost for free. There are a lot of free solutions. It's not costly. It's almost instant. What is actually the differentiating factor is whether you have good taste or whether you have the mental models like these to know that, okay, which kind of services are out there. Because in 5 years, maybe Lexica.art is not going to be there. Maybe Midjourney is not going to be there. But definitely these kind of collection of images is going to be there. Definitely reverse image search is going to be there. And if you can use these solutions, then you will find images which you like, and then you can use the text which is describing that image, because that's how actually Google image search works, and also these prompt collection or AI generated image collections work.
So the first thing that you already mentioned, if you want to start with image generation, that look for have I been trained to look for exact ideas, also reverse image search. And the third one is to get the top list of the highest rated AI generated images, right?
Yeah, that's right. And also what you mentioned is you can go on Twitter, you can go on Reddit and see posts, but that's kind of like a lower frequency place, because you find less images, you can search less image, but still you can get inspiration. So if you are really into this field and want to keep up how it's progressing, then it's extremely important to go to these places each day and just like quickly search through what is happening, so it can be on top of your mind, and it helps you actually to be more creative. So I know that you're enthusiastic about copying and using and getting inspiration from other people's style. You did a deep dive into it. So that's kind of like the fourth or fifth big thing which you can take away, and which is most likely is going to work in 5 to 10 years as well. So can you give us a quick summary of what did you find? What are the most useful styles which you can copy and actually get a consistent results?
Okay, so just think about a few use cases: food photography, Facebook ads, any illustration for a website, for a blog post, and things like this. So, for example, for me, I wanted to generate a few food related photos to our cooking school. And what I found most useful is using the directors and artists who I already know. So, for example, Wes Anderson is lately trending again, I guess.
Those who don't know, it's like Wes Anderson has this very pastel, very unique style, and someone just made actually the Lord of the Rings trailer using Wes Anderson style generated by Midjourney, and it's insane.
Also the symmetry and these pastel colors that you mentioned. So it's a this thing, and it's pleasant for your eye. I always experiment with, I put the prompt, and at the end I put in a style of Wes Anderson.
So it's kind of like if you create like creative, you, for example, in your case, in a cooking soul, it's like a nice Greek dish in a style of Wes Anderson. So that's kind of like the prompt, right?
Yes, correct. And also, when we were trying to come up with a logo for Disruptor Digest, I put Andy Warhol. So make the style of Andy Warhol, who was, I think, one of the most influential logo creator of the last 100 years. He designed, for example, the Campbell Soups logo. And so he's a distinct style as well. Just think about your favorite directors and artists, and also the most influential ones. For example, if you want to get some ideas, something abstract, for example, you can use it in style of Picasso. Or if you want to get more realistic, in the style of Quentin Tarantino, and also the style of Pixar is distinct, and a lot of people know what is it. And also you can combine them. So for example, you can put that in the style of Picasso and Pixar, or a Pixar style Picasso painting, and you will get some very unique things.
Just to summarize what we covered so far, using your favorite directors like Wes Anderson, or favorite designers like Andy Warhol, or painters like Picasso or Quentin Tarantino or Pixar style, you can get a consistent, distinct style, and you can actually also explore what is fitting the best for your explicit use case. And also with fantasy painting, Greg Rutkowski's name comes up a lot because he does a very distinct paint style fantasy images. And unfortunately, his latest image on one of the websites where he shares his work is like no to AI generated images. So he's kind of like against this whole movement. We're going to get into it, what is behind that and what could be done with it. So if you're a struggling artist, this movement, what is happening in AI image generation, how it can help you instead of just leaving you behind.
The beauty of this, using some people's style, that of course in their style there are a lot of theories and a lot of practical use. For example, do they use digital cameras or analog classical cameras, things like this. And you don't have to understand that. You just want to get the feel and copy the feel of their work.
Yeah, right. So I have a meta question for you. So let's say, because you are quite knowledgeable in the visual arts, so if I'm not mistaken, from one of your first income, you bought a Canon DSLR camera. So you are into these visual arts, and you studied marketing in New York, so an advertisement in New York. So what could be a way for an uninitiated like me to come up with these kind of artists and directors and styles? So how could I come up with these styles if I don't know them? So what kind of tools can I use if I have no ideas of which person?
So an actual example for food photography, I asked ChatGPT who are the most influential food photography artists, and it came up with 5 names first, and I put these 5 names on Google image search. And I found that some of them use a lot of macro, so they are very zoomed in on the food. Some of them has a big background, architecture type of photographer and things like this. But after a few images, it's easy to understand their style. And after 5 or maximum 10 famous photographers, you can get a vision what style would you like to copy. And to help you, we have a prompt protocol, and we put the 5 most famous food photographers, landscape photographers, and other 10 important fields, most famous photographers. So you can make this process even faster.
Yeah, right. So if just to summarize, the trick here is going to a chat-based language model like ChatGPT. You can use even Google Bard, or for free Bing search event. You can chat there as well. So you are using these chat AIs, and you just basically describe what you want, right? Or what is your product, what is your goal? Describe that, okay, you want to have food photography, or maybe I'm into pastel colors, and in my field, maybe I'm not well versed. So who are the most famous artists who are using extensive pastel colors and in photography? And actually ChatGPT or Bard, Google Bard, or Bing Chat, they can give you a list of artists, and then you can copy it. So even without you knowing anything about the field you are trying to get some results, you can use these tools to do the research for you.
The thing that I most struggle with, that with AI image generation, it's easy to make something that in the style of a cartoon or a comic. So an art that is drawn, and also you can make realistic pictures. But it was very hard for me to make realistic pictures. So something that you would shot on a camera. If you want to get realistic, it's the best prompt I found is to put shot on an iPhone, shot on a DSLR, which is a classical camera type, or even you can put shot on a Kodak, some brand name.
Oh, cool. So it's kind of like you can, even if you don't know about this, like me, I'm not well versed in classical photography, but I guess I could just use these tools like ChatGPT to ask, like, okay, what are the best camera lenses for X, like realistic portraits, landscapes, night photography, and those kind of things, right?
Right.
Awesome. So just to get a sense of what is the use case where you can use these image generators like logo design, which we covered, food photography, which we covered. But there are other, just to give some inspiration for the listeners, what could be the other big use cases that can be covered with these tools?
Yeah, so the two things that you already mentioned, that we created our logo with Midjourney, and also when we, in the ideation phase for the logo, we generated like, I don't know, at least 50 ideas. So for a logo, you can generate the ideas and the actual logo as well.
Without moving forward, that's extremely important, because if we contrast it, so what we did, we used AI to iterate. We went down lots of directions which weren't right for us, so we abandoned them. But it was actually just 2 minutes. So we could explore 50 different ideas in a few minutes, right? Or maybe an hour. But if you contrast that to the traditional way of doing this, you hire someone, you try to explain, try to verbalize, try to give some inspiration, some images, what is resonating with you, and that person is coming up with something, and then you kind of iterate, but it takes months, right? So that's kind of like an extremely cumbersome and slow process. So the traditional way of doing logo design versus the new way of doing logo design is completely different and much more streamlined. And it's also useful for logo designers as well, because previously you had to like work by hand on each and every iteration, and now you can use AI to explore what could fit that client as well. So lots of people don't want to get into these image generators. I don't agree with the fact that all the professional logo designers are going to put out of work, because they are going to put out of work by other designers who are using these tools and using it professionally. Because obviously we created our logo, but it shows. So it's no way professional or that thing. But there is still a need for professional logos. And as an artist, you can use these tools.
Right. And the second one is food photography. So just for a contrast, for food photography, some professional photographers can even charge $30,000 a day. And then that day, they will make about 100 photos. First, it's crazy expensive. And also, they have to have gear cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's not an exaggeration. Some high-level lenses can cost more than $20,000. So if you compare it, what do you think? How much does it cost to create 100 photographies with Midjourney?
I think $20.
I think even less than $10, but yeah, that's the range. So I think it's similar. When the internet started, some companies charged $5 million for an e-commerce store, and now you can run an e-commerce store on Shopify for $10 a month. So I think similar things will happen in image creation.
Yeah, insane. And also you can use it to, while we are at it, e-commerce, you said just e-commerce. I guess it's more useful for actual designers as well. So it's less useful currently for everyday people. But as a UX UI designer, you can use Midjourney and these sorts to create mobile app designs, website dashboards, mood boards. So you can prompt to create mobile app, for a food delivery app, which is focusing on green food or which is focusing exclusively on meat and those kind of things. And instantly you can sort through a lot of different variations, and you can pick and choose the 2 out of 50 which resonates with you, and then you can sit down and do it by hand on Figma or the sort. This is also going to be automated away very soon, because when GPT-4 came out, that was one of the demos where they just made a picture of a hand drawing of a website and it was instantly turned into a website. So actually, this is going to be even more streamlined in the future. But as an artist, as a UX UI designer, if you are using these tools already, you are going to be far ahead of everyone else who is not willing to use these tools.
What other use cases would you mention?
Yeah, I mean, interior design is quite trivial. So you can, it's huge on finding what is suiting the client, and you can quickly explore different options, right? So like a living room, which is very nature inspired. So interior design of a living room, which is designed by space, which is designed by Nordic simplicity and those kind of things. So you can easily use it. But also you can use for coloring books. So like the coloring book for small children, or you can even like create coloring books for bigger children and have their favorite superheroes, which can be modified to represent them, right? So it's like if their favorite superhero is male and they are female, you can like switch and swap gender. You can switch and swap things about the superhero itself. So it's not just like blindly copying like Iron Man and creating an Iron Man coloring book and selling it on Amazon. You cannot obviously do that. But if you want to do it for your child and you want to personalize it, you can actually personalize a superhero which is representing him. Or you can create a coloring book for adults like mandalas and those kind of things. And also, I guess that one of the biggest business use cases are not even covered yet by us. So let's get into it. What do you say?
Sure, let's do it.
So personalization in social media is a big thing. So profile picture generation, cover photo, YouTube thumbnails, these kind of things are quite cumbersome still to generate them. But on YouTube, you can generate image with strong emotions. So a person with a strong emotion, because YouTube is always about like some human face is feeling a strong emotion because that converts the best. So every single YouTube thumbnail is almost like that. But you can, once again, explore them. But also in Midjourney, you can put an image into a prompt. So just as you type like, okay, a person feeling a strong emotion of surprise, then you can copy paste a URL to an image. So you can use your own face as an input and also accompany it with some text describing what you want to get. And that's one of the quickest way. And also there is like other fine-tuning possibilities, and we can get into it later on, like fine-tuning, stable diffusion and those kind of things. But even in Midjourney, without being too technically adept, you can use to put your picture inside and then create some variations of it.
The actual process, how we did our cover art or cover photo for social media, is that you already mentioned you generated in Midjourney, but the problem is that Midjourney size is limited.
Actually, what happened is you can use Midjourney to generate any ratio. So we could have used a very wide ratio, but we already got an image which we liked, but unfortunately it was a square image, right? And we had to make a very wide version of it. And then you use a tool. And please explain.
So this is DALL-E, which is created by OpenAI, the same company as ChatGPT. In my experience, the actual images are not that good quality as Midjourney. So I think Midjourney is a top player, no question at the moment. But Midjourney doesn't have the so-called outpaint feature, which means that you put one image and put a square at some part out of the picture, and it paints a continuation of that photo.
In our case, we had the original square image, and you just moved to the side, to the left, and said, okay, let's outpaint this part, which is like empty now, but it should continue the original style. And you did the same on the other side, and then we got this very wide image, right?
Right.
Awesome.
Okay, let's get into Facebook ads. I brought some real numbers because I already started to experiment with this. So for the cooking school, I created some campaigns, and it was different target audiences. So you can't compare all the numbers, which I would say. So the thing is that I already learned about Facebook that what is working. For example, happy faces, blue sky, sun is shining, ocean. It's twofold. The first one is the algorithm, because Facebook algorithm wants to show happy things and not sad or depressing things. Other part, also people are more likely to click on things that are on the positive vibes.
Uplifting, right?
Uplifting, right. So I created different images. The worst results I got was black and white images of foods and low light images. On one target audience, it reached about 1% click-through rate. On the same target audience, what I did is I created a few images and I combined them in a video. So for 2-3 seconds, I showed one picture and later another picture, and I put some text on that as well. It took me about 10 minutes with a tool called Lumen 5, but it was just 5 images and I combined them and it became a video. And the click-through rate was 5% on the same audience.
Oh, okay. If I get it right, what happened is like you kind of like explored the option space. So you created some black and white photography. It was like 1% click-through rate, which is around average, right? So it's not that bad. It's not good either. And what you did in contrast, you generated several images with Midjourney, and then you just used a tool and you dumped the images into a tool, which created a moving picture. So it created an animation or video about that, but still just like animating images. The click-through rate just 5x'd. So went from 1% to 5. And it's insane because let's imagine you have a budget of $1 million, you spend that on marketing, and what kind of difference it makes when you have $5 million instead of just like $1 million, right? But even on a small scale as well, so if you spend $1,000, which is obviously your maximum you can spend if you spend that much, suddenly you have 5,000 to spend. It's insane. So that's why these kind of tools which generating moving images, so videos from still images, it's insane. It's quite cheap, quite fast. And if you measure like the click-through rates and you can use these tools to measure them, you can get insane results.
Yeah, and it was just like a slideshow, right? Just images after each other. So it's not
even like a professionally shot photography, area photography, or those kind of things. Just like actually images moving one after each other. Insane.
Yeah, and I experienced that in the past as well, before AI image generation was a thing, and I got similar results.
Remember, we were actually trying to onboard people to do a survey or to do a research, and we had the same results. So it's like 5 to 10x the click-through rate compared to just still images. So moving images, moving pictures, animation, videos, those kind of things, just by the format itself, is a one order of magnitude more powerful than even the best like still image.
So I was running this campaign and I thought, okay, I expected that the video like slideshow would be the best performing, but something surprising happened. I generated about 8 photos with Midjourney. And there was one photo that even got higher CTR. It was 6.3% compared to the 5.2. The slideshow was 5.2%, and this image was 6.3%. And actually, it was a Greek kitchen on the beach with blue sky, sand, and sea.
It's kind of like you generated a lifestyle image which conveys a good lifestyle, still and very calming picture. And it's even get a better rate than video itself.
Yeah, it's right.
Did you try to create a video from that still image and how it performed?
No. Next step should be to create 5 or 10 similar images with sunshine, sea, and sand, and put it in a slideshow.
I need to see that. I mean, because it's insane. I mean, even the still image to get this high click-through rate is insane. And I tell you, this is not something you get just by accident. And using Midjourney to explore like these kind of things, it's insane. But can I ask you, how did you come up with this picture? Because now you explain, I can imagine and I can understand it's working well because it's conveying a very chill atmosphere. So I understand it. But how did you come up with this picture of creating an image about this?
Okay, so to coming up with a prompt, there are, I think, 2 ways that I would advise you. First one is to put it in very plain words, nothing technical, nothing special. So I just made this experiment before we started this episode. So I put in Midjourney the prompt, and I will quote myself, Greek kitchen on the beach. Nothing extra.
How did you come up with this prompt? Because this sounds simple, but maybe I cannot come up with that.
What we are selling here is a Greek cooking class.
Yeah.
So I wanted to explore 2 pathways. First, have some Greek food like souvlaki or loukamas or something on a picture. Or other avenue would be to have a Greek kitchen with this distinct style and have. So this was my seed. So this is where I started. So first I put this very plain text. The results were good enough, I think. My problem was that it's a little bit drawing-like, so like a painting and the mix of painting and the drawing. So the actual prompt was shot on DSLR. I put some seas blue or something like that just to make an emphasis on that. And that was that. But to come up with other ideas, another process that I would like to share you, and this is where Samson involves. So the process is that you put a prompt in ChatGPT, and actually you ask ChatGPT to be a prompt engineer for you for Midjourney. And what the first prompt, and you will find it in the show notes or to link to it in the show notes, is you asked ChatGPT to be explicit and
detailed, right?
And the goal is here to put the same prompt in ChatGPT, Greek cuisine on the beach, but ChatGPT will make it more detailed, and it will be a paragraph long about things, and I have to tell you what are these things.
Just before we get into details, so what we do here is we get a very draft short description of what you want, and then you use a chat AI to help to expand into a very detailed description, right? So we get a short thing and we expand it into a detailed description, right?
Yes, correct. So you ask ChatGPT to come up with nouns, adjectives, make it more detailed, and also asking to come up with some style, come up with lighting, come up with camera choice, come up with lens choice. And I think this is for beginners like us in photography. This is the hardest part, to learn about camera choices, lenses, shot types, and things like this. But you don't have to come up with this. You ask ChatGPT to come up with this, and also ask it to come up with at least 2 prompts. So use ChatGPT as a creative partner to come up with different prompts and describe everything, which is important for an image generation.
Yes, in this case, we get a really short description. We use ChatGPT or any kind of chat AI to, okay, let's expand and detail description of this short thing, and please include like lenses which are fitting and lighting which are fitting and those kind of things, which makes sense for a professional photographer. Because this is a huge help for me, because I have zero talent in photography. I may have some taste, but I definitely have zero talent. And this is really useful for me. And I have almost zero background as well, so background knowledge as well. But this is useful for me because I can use it. And kind of like what I use, and it's similar to this, is getting inspiration on a top list in Midjourney or Lexica.art and those kind of websites. So I can get a good looking image, which I like, get the prompt, and I can just copy paste the prompt into Chat AI and say, okay, this is a prompt for a text to image generator, and please generate 5 similar prompts, but it should be about Vikings, it should be about food, it should be about whatever you want to do. So it's like you can kind of like copy and paste the style of the prompt itself into your use case, specific use case. So use this style to generate a YouTube thumbnail for me and those kind of things. And you can ask for like 5 to 10 examples and you can explore them as well. So this is kind of like similar, because in this case we have the specific prompt which I want to modify, want to get a different iteration on it, and what you describe is just getting the gist of what you want and expanding it with a chat AI. So that's pretty awesome. I love it. Thanks.
Can I give you a few highlights, just 2 or 3 sentences? Because it's a long paragraph that ChatGPT would generate. So again, I started with Greek kitchen on the beach. And what this prompt and ChatGPT came up with is, envision a charming Greek kitchen situated on a sandy beach with the azure sea as a backdrop.
Oh, wow.
And later he said, the composition should be framed as if shot with a 35mm lens, focusing on the open kitchen with the beach and sea extending into the distance.
Oh, wow.
How it helps is you don't have to start from scratch. What should be the lens? What should be the shot?
Yeah, exactly. And also, just like quick side note, so in Midjourney there are versions. And as you said, currently it's version
5.1.
5.1. Previous versions, so 4, up to 4, they were quite distinct style, artistic style, so they weren't realistic. And then in the version 5 got extremely realistic, and then 5.1 got this style as well. So even between the versions, there are some differences, and actually you can use it to your advantage, because if you want to have like a realistic looking photography, you should use the 5 versions and not the 4 and those kind of things. And yeah, so it's
just to give you an example, with version 5 you can get a very realistic face, but with version 5.1 you can get a realistic face with raindrops on the face and it still looks realistic.
One more thing is, like, up to the version 5, so 1, 2, 3 and 4, and even Stable Diffusion and these kind of image generators, how you instruct them is like enumerating different words. So it's just kind of like sandy beach, Greek photos, sunset in the background, and those kind of things. So it's kind of like not a human written sentence. And that's changed in version 5. So that's why it's genius to use chat AIs with these tools, because you can actually transform like these enumerated words into a specific sentence, or in your case, you get just a gist and expand it to a human rewritten form, which is actually much better suited for the version 5. So in version 5, if you had sentences just like you described, it generates much better images compared to the previous ones. But obviously you have to try and mess around because it's not always true. But generally, Midjourney version 5 should be instructed like a human being, whereas the previous versions have to have these comma-separated words of what you want to get.
Okay, so what are the implications just about Facebook ads? So first thing, that it's very cheap to generate photos. You don't have to make a photo shooting, you don't have to organize. Also, the feedback loop is very fast. You don't have to wait for a designer. So first, it's fast and cheap. Second one, that you can outsource creativity to ChatGPT, because in my experience, creative people are very expensive because they have to learn the fundamentals and also they have to have some experience, and it's hard to find good creative people anywhere in the world. So image generation is fast and cheap, and the creative process is outsourced to ChatGPT. So what you can do, you can create 1,000 images for a Facebook ad, of course, in iterations. So for example, you create 10 good looking, you put it in a first campaign, you learn what are the goods. So for example, make it sunny and happy. What are the bad, the black and white and depressing one? So then you iterate from that one. You create 10 images which look similar for the winner one. And you do 4 iterations and you will get mind-blowing click-through rates.
It just came to my mind. Actually, there's a trick which is insane and it's going to be useful in 5 years as well. You just use Facebook with ads on, and if you just stop at an ad because it's just resonating with you for some reason, you can actually copy that image, and there's a clip model and it's on Hugging Face. And if you put the image on this model, it's explaining what is on the image itself. So what you can do is getting inspiration. So if you see a good ad somewhere on the internet, you can describe it into words with AI, with its clip model, and then using that description to put again into a text to image generator to generate like variations in your field. I see a good like cooking class image. I can describe it with clip. I get the text, and once I get the text, I can use chat AIs to, okay, this is the prompt. Please translate it into my field, right? Which is consulting, or which is like whatever it is. And then using that as an inspiration. So that's kind of like quite neat as well. So
for example, there is a winning ad with a strong facial expression, vibrant colors and things like this. You can copy it without any copyright issues, right?
Yeah, and also the genius thing is, because what you describe in your process and is genius, that you can iterate quicker. And I want to emphasize this. It's extremely important. So people won't lose their jobs to AI. They will lose their jobs to people using AI. So if you are creative, you can get much better results than a layman using AI. I have the same experience. So in marketing, in research, I can make much better prompts because I have lots of background knowledge compared to someone, and even the copies itself. So I can write better copies just because I have background knowledge compared to a layman. So I won't be replaced by a layman. I will be replaced if I don't use AI. So if you are creative, you can explore. But even what it does is like these tools are doing lowering the barrier to entry. So even me, who is not well versed in professional photography, I can explore. So that's kind of like genius, that you can quickly explore things. And what I just said is shortcut is you even don't have to A/B test. You just basically use what is already working. And there's a tool called Facebook Ad Library. And it's genius because you can go to other people's Facebook page, copy paste it, and see what kind of ads they are running for a long time. And if they're running for a long time, it may work. So you just kind of like get an inspiration from other people's Facebook ads, from the Facebook ad library, and then you use those ads to translate into your field with chat AIs, and then using Midjourney and Stable Diffusion and these tools to generate quickly variations which are obviously are going to be, it's higher likelihood that they are going to perform better because you didn't just blindly explore, you actually get the inspiration first of what is actually already working outside.
Yes, what you mentioned, the Facebook ad library. So you can click on any Facebook page and check if they're running ads. What I found is also, first thing, how long actual ad has been running. You can see it. And also check the advertiser, how many ads are they running? So for example, if an advertiser is running 10 or 50 ads, maybe they are not proficient, but if they are running 10,000, that's possible, or just 1,000 ads, then you can be sure that they have been testing a lot.
Even just like look at big players in the field, because they're most likely running something for a long time, which is working, because otherwise they won't run it to just lose money. So that's kind of like you can get an inspiration. It doesn't have to be in your specific industry. It can be adjacent as well. So what you can do is like just ask ChatGPT that, okay, I'm in the industry of cooking classes and I'm doing it for team building events, my target audience. So give me a list of different industries which are related to my target audience. And then you can go there and actually explore the adjacent neighboring industries and get the inspiration and pull it into your advertisement.
Right. Okay. One last thing for logo generation that we forgot to mention. How we started our logo generation. So we had our name, Disruptor Digest. And the first thing we did, I asked ChatGPT to come up with symbols associated with disruption.
Yeah.
And ChatGPT came with Pandora's box. Also come with something is breaking, because this is the symbol of change. And the third one was a lightning, because again, it's something new, something changing.
And also rocket ships, right?
Yeah, ChatGPT didn't came up with that.
What I usually do is like asking GPT-4 to give me emojis to what I'm trying to describe. And with those emojis, I can get a sense of the visual representation. So that's kind of like a hack as well.
Okay, so I got these symbols and I just put it in Midjourney and asked to come up with a flat logo with these symbols. And actually, there were some logos that I liked. Fortunately, you didn't, and we came up with a so much better one. But this is one way to come up with a logo.
Two more things in the specific use cases, and then we can move on to the next topic. One is for enterprises. If they want to generate lots of images, obviously they need something more specific, because currently Midjourney doesn't have an API access. DALL-E has an API access because it's not that powerful. What can be done in this case, if they have a big budget, they can obviously do their own models. They can train them. They can use their own stable diffusion model. Or there are companies like Scale.com, which is doing exactly like that, helping enterprises to get a foot ahead very quickly without investing a lot. So it's basically they provide APIs to get AI-related things done. And also the second thing I want to cover is not safe for work and waifus.
Yeah, we made a keyword research for this episode, and I found out that in a Google search, a lot of people are asking the banned words.
Yeah, we made a keyword research, and that's how we came across this not safe for work angle, right? And a friend of me asked as well. So anyways, what I would like to cover extremely quickly, that there are models. So in Stable Diffusion case, so those who don't know, you have to be a little bit more capable in IT, because you have to run the terminal and you have to run applications which are not user-friendly. So it's not super user-friendly yet, but if you are willing to learn, it's not that hard, and we will provide some tutorials in the show notes, so no worries about that. So anyways, what's extremely important, just if you download these models, these not safe for work models, because originally they were fine-tuned on a public image data set without any explicit image, and they later on get fine-tuned to produce explicit adult images. And if you download the weights of the models, originally they were in CKPT extension file, so the ending of the file name was .ckpt, and that's not safe, because in that code actually there can be malicious code as well. So you should always download a safe extension. So that's kind of like something to be mindful. For example, there are websites, cividai.com, which is collecting these models, and Deliberate V2 and Dreamshaper. So these kind of models can produce explicit images. And one of the neat thing in producing explicit images is go to a website like what I just described, like lexica.art and those kind of collection websites. And if you find something beautiful, then put that into an explicit image and generate a model, and that's going to produce something where the whole human anatomy is very transparent. So let's put it that way. And so generating images, not safe for work images, is quite easy with these. You can use the same techniques which we described. And also just extremely quickly, there are chat options as well. So for example, Character.ai was mainly used for creating chat AIs in different characters like Elon Musk or different historical figures, but they are limited. And there's Silly Tavern, which is not limited, and that's a model. That's kind of like a copy of what Character.ai is doing. And there's Pygmalion model, GPT-4X Alpaca model, and these jailbroken models which can produce not safe for work chats. And also there are extensions like Ooba Booga, where the chatbot can exchange images with you. So you can send image and it can send images back to you. So kind of like creating these not safe for work chatbots, which can generate not safe for work images. It's quite easy. We're going to provide some links in the show notes as well, so you can explore, but obviously only explore if you're at least 18 years old and those kind of things.
Yeah, Victor, just a few sentences about the implications. I have mixed feelings because if you look at these pictures, and one of my friends looked on these explicit pictures generated by AI, and he said that they look so real that it's very hard to distinguish between a real one. So first, it's a little bit dystopic for me, but on the other hand, I hear a lot of abuse in the adult industry. So if you can generate these images even cheaper than these pure abused participants, then it can make something good in the world.
Just to get inspiration from completely irrelevant fields like music industry, for example, Grims just released a platform to help anyone to create AI generated music with her voice. And that's kind of like the embracing way of doing it. And that's kind of like what you explain now, that you, let's say you're an OnlyFans model, you can explicitly release an AI model which is like generating images like your body and generating text like you speak, and then you can scale, right? So it's kind of like if you have the copyright of your body, you are the one who scale it, that's okay. And obviously it can be abused as well, so someone can copy you and it's kind of like limited what you can do against that. But I mean, if you embrace that, you can get further ahead in any field, and it doesn't have to be this explicit adult content niche. It can be in music as well, it can be in visual arts as well. So let's say, for example, Greg Rutkowski is obviously not happy about like everyone and anyone is being able to copy him, and he put in a lot of energy and time to learn and master his craft, and now some kid in a basement in North Carolina can generate a lot of images in his style and sell it online. So that's kind of like not cool, and I understand that it's upsetting, but that's something which you have zero control over, so you can be upset. Obviously, it's your choice. But I mean, there is like the other way as well. What Grims is doing is, okay, cool, it's happening. So what if I just run forward and I'm just say, okay, I help others to maximize the likelihood of just kind of make it extremely easy to use my style, and then they can like sell it and they get like 50%, 10%, whatever. It's like, it doesn't really matter the exact split. But if you let others to use creativity, it's going to boost your image. It's going to boost your work. And that happened with open source as well. So if you look at what Character.ai did, is they had to censor what they produced. So the open source community just jumped on board, and now much more things are available. And if you look at Stable Diffusion, it's not even 1 year old, and it has 15,000 forks on GitHub. And what it means, for those who don't know, it's like 15,000 times someone copied the exact code and tried to make some modifications. And just to put it in context, in the last 8 years, TensorFlow has 85,000 forks. So it's insane. So what I'm trying to say here, the pace of innovation in open source communities is insane. So if you embrace that, and if you let others to use their creativity and make a sensible split with them. So it's kind of like the similar what Apple did in the music industry. So previously everyone was torrenting the music, and then they made it possible to buy just one song and made it extremely easy, right? So if you make it easy, if you just let people to do their things, you can get a lot done, and you can get further ahead than, let's say, you just like be angry about something which is you are rightfully angry about, but once again, you have zero control over. But it's just your choice again. So I'm not here to preach. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just showing different ways of reacting to the change, what's happening now.
Okay, let's go to creative inspiration. Okay, so we would like to give you a few ideas how to come up with inspirations, new ideas with Midjourney itself, not ChatGPT, but Midjourney only. The first example is from Julian Cole, who is a thought leader in advertising strategy, and he was the head of strategy is one of the biggest ad agencies in New York City called BBDO. And so his idea is if you want to develop a branding campaign, a big budget branding campaign, that it's very important to don't make any cliche. What he advises is, for example, if you want to make a car advertisement for an SUV car, put SUV car advertisement in Midjourney and generate photos, images. So you will see that if you do this, you will come up a happy family sitting in a SUV car. And this is the most cliche ever that you can come up with a car advertisement, so you know what to avoid.
Yeah, awesome. And I guess that's kind of like what we did unconsciously as well, because in podcasting, if you have a podcast, please avoid anything related to microphones and headphones, right? Because it's like, yeah, everyone knows that what the fuck is podcasting. So that's kind of like what we avoided in Disruptor Digest as well, that we avoided to use rockets, for example, because that's a cliche. We don't want to rockets and bolts and those kind of things to represent what we do. So yeah, it's I like it that using it as a kind of like a way of inversion. So trying to find what to avoid, what is the most obvious thing. If you want to be creative, that's extremely good. And it's easy to implement for anyone, that you have to get the results in a new field. You just use these image generators to get like what are the most obvious results, and then you can get more creative and get further away from them.
Okay, so second one is, I would say, blending things. So for example, in case of a cooking school, I would put, what is a typical Italian kitchen look like? By put it in my city, put it in my country, put it in the future, put it in the countryside or close to nature. So it will come up with different viewpoints. About logo generation, we already talked about to come up with symbols, and you can use this Ask ChatGPT for symbols for other processes as well. But I would emphasize this too. If you start to generate any kind of images, start with the simplest prompt. So for example, when we started to generate our logo, I just put in Disruptor Digest logo, and that's all. And it came up with very different things, because if the prompt is very short and very broad, then you will give a lot of breathing room for Midjourney algorithm, and it will come up with very different things. In this case, I didn't like it, so we have to come up with other ideas. So for example, I put DD logo, just the double D logo. And it was something more interesting, but still not good. One last very advanced approach is, some users did it. Put the whole user's manual of Midjourney in ChatGPT. So put it in smaller parts because it's very long, and just ask ChatGPT, okay, please read it. And when you're ready, just say okay. And put it 2 or 3 times, I think. And after, ask the prompt, okay, so based on the user manual of Midjourney, please come up with a prompt for a Greek kitchen or something like that.
This is extremely advanced, and I would say it's not really needed, especially if you use the previous tools which we provided, but this is a good and strong tool in the toolset as well. I guess we covered the use cases quite detailed, and I quickly want to get into the history and give you the gist of what happened in image generation and why is it important, because then we can avoid the biggest misconception, what people usually hold in their mind about image generators, and also you will understand how to get more value out of these tools. So let's jump into, shall we? Image generation started in 1994 by image recognition, and that's considered to be a human capability. So everyone assumed computers won't be able to do that. We covered in our AI episode in 1994, the MNIST dataset was created by Yann LeCun, who is currently the AI chief at Facebook or Meta. And that was based on labeled data, so-called supervised learning. So there were digits, handwritten digits, and the respective numbers, what they represent. That was labeled data set of 50,000 images.
What does it mean? What is a labeled data set?
It means that there's images, and not just images themselves, but also labels what they mean. So in this case, like not just the handwritten digits, picture of a handwritten digit, but also like the number it represents. So 0 to 9, basically. Yann LeCun and his team went through the data set and labeled it, and it was a cumbersome thing to do, and it took a lot of work. And compared to that, because in AI, as we discussed in the AI episode, data size matters a lot and much more than anything else. So unlabeled data set where there are only lots of images, but no description of what they do, is something, if you can use it, it's extremely powerful, because then you can basically use all the images on the internet, quote unquote. And in 2014, Ian Goodfellow came up with the generative adversarial networks, which is basically like an artist and a critic paired together, and the artist is making an art and a critic is critiquing it. So in this case, there's a generator and discriminator, and the discriminator is trying to tell apart which is a real image and which is generated by the generative model. And you can iteratively run these two models and you can get extremely realistic images. And if you remember the social media filter boom, how you can put different filters on you and those kind of things, and style transfer as well. So like Picasso style can be transferred to a new image. Those are basically relying on this architecture. So that was one of the first big breakthrough. And then the diffusion models came, which is basically diffusion, and that's all the rage lately, actually. So diffusion models are all the rage. It's like you get an image, you add some noise, you add some noise, you add some noise, and you try to reverse that. So you try to teach a model to reverse.
What is noise in this case?
When in an old school TV, if you turn it on and there were no channel chosen, then the black and white random pixels, right? Black and white random pixels, basically noise. So you can just add some random noise to it. So basically, if you go through the process in reverse, you just like generate some noise, some black and white dots on an image, and then start to gradually remove the noise and gradually create an image out of it. So that's kind of like how diffusion models work. But the downside of it is that it's extremely slow because each and every pixel has to be calculated. And yeah, it's a slow process. So, but Stable Diffusion is, and Stability AI is one of the big pioneers in this field, and also DALL-E works on the same principle as well. We already talked about the autoencoder in the AI episode, but just a 2-sentence summary. If you imagine a neural network layer by layer as an hourglass, so it's wide at the top, it's getting narrowing down in the middle, and getting widening again at the bottom. What's happening and why it's cool, because you can put in an image or can put in anything, and it has to reproduce at the end the same input. So you don't have to have labeled data. You can put through the whole internet. You can put through all the images. You can put through everything basically. And if you push them through this model, and its only goal is to reproduce what was put at the top and reproduce it at the bottom, it has to learn to generalize. Since at the middle as an hourglass, it's very tight, just a few neurons is representing what was put in, and it has to be able to reconstruct from that the whole input. That's kind of like what's called the latent space. So in Stable Diffusion, how it works is actually image descriptions and images were put into an embedding, into a vector space. And in this case, what's happening, if you put in one of the images of Picasso, you can get a latent space, this very much compressed representation. And then you have the text that this is in Picasso style. So if you say again, this is Picasso style, but it's, I don't know, a modern car, it has kind of like a different representation, the latent space, and it can build it up again. So what it does is Stable Diffusion, because lots of people misunderstand this, and this is the biggest misconception. So most of the people think that it's copying, pasting whatever it finds online, and it's not true. It's completely not true. So it's not copying, pasting. It's not working on pixel level. It's working on abstraction much higher. So it's working on styles, what we just described previously. Like it understands like different artists, it understands lighting, it understands lenses, it understands styles like cartoon style or painting and those kind of things. So it has an understanding of different concepts and it can combine them. So you can get new things. So you can get, for example, it's going to be put into the show notes as well, that historical selfies like Jesus and his crew or Cleopatra, Roman warriors, and those people are doing selfies, and it understands that what a selfie is, and it understands what you say like Jesus, Cleopatra, Roman warriors, and it creates insane pictures which were not present online previously. So if you understand this is not like, okay, copying, pasting pixels from different artists. What it does is actually understands the concepts, and it can, from the latent space, it can build up and recreate whatever you want to do. And why is it important? because then if you understand this, you understand that you have to understand concepts, and you can combine concepts, and you can explore concepts, and you can get creative with concepts, and you can see what is working for your use case, instead of like thinking, okay, this is anyway just like going to copy and paste. It's not going to copy and paste. So that's kind of like one very specific takeaway from the architecture, how Stable Diffusion works and these kind of models work. And the other takeaway is AI is the ultimate artist, because art in essence is about pushing the question of what is art. And I guess most of the listeners is familiar with, like, for example, a banana taped to a wall in a gallery is art. So modern art can be very provocative, but modern art throughout history, so it's like no matter where you see it, it was always provocative, it always evolved, it always meant different things. So art was always exploring what is art, pushing always the boundaries. And AI is asking the question, what is an artist, right? Because now everyone can be an artist, right? So it's kind of like provocative, and I understand that the same way as the layman can be quite upset about like how come a banana taped to a wall can be art, the same outrage can be felt by artists as well. Like normal, everyday person like me who is not educated in art, how can I be an artist if I didn't put in the hours, and so on and so on. So obviously it has kind of like this provocative downside as well to it. But anyways, if you understand that how it works, so you can actually work in a latent space, actually you work with concepts, and you can explore concepts, then you can get better, I think. And also we can get into the different alternative options to Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, and these kind of things, if it's all right with you.
Yes, okay. So let's go to the tools. If somebody wants to generate AI images, what are their options?
There are free and paid versions. And also, if there's money is no issue for you, we're going to get into what you should use. Enterprise, we already covered it a little bit. And if you want to find resources, we're going to learn more, we're going to provide it in the show notes. So the Stable Diffusion, which we just talked about and described how it works, and basically behind all the generative image models lately, there's a popular 8.11.11 interface to it, which I just described, has 14,000 forks. So it's in an open source project. It's extremely high. So it's well-maintained and innovating at an insane pace. So the pro side is it's open source, it's free. It has lots of plugins. Like you can animate a still image as someone is talking. It's called Said Talker. It's going to be a tutorial I put into the show notes, so no worries about that. And it's insane. So you can generate basically an image with Midjourney, and you can animate it with Said Talker. It's insane what you can get done with it. But also, contra side is it's not beginner friendly. It can be quite straining on your computer. So you have to have a computer with a video card, at least 7 gigabytes of memory, and it cannot be that fast. So it depends on the hardware, how fast it is. So that's kind of like an open source thing. There's Bing image generator. So bing.com/create, or you can go to Bing chat and just instruct that, okay, draw me something. And it's going to use basically DALL-E in the background, which is the same tool by OpenAI. And you can use it for free. And there's also Blue Willow. It's a Midjourney alternative. So you can go on Discord. Discord is basically a chat application for gamers. It can be intimidating a little bit, but just in a 2 sentences, a summary, you just install it as like any other tool like WhatsApp or Messenger and those kind of things. The difference is there are channels, so there are chat groups basically, where you can find the bot, and you can instruct the bot by writing /imagine space and describing what you want. So like /imagine space and professional photograph of a Greek meal, and then it's going to generate 4 options for you. And once you get the 4 options, you can either upscale them, one of them, or just ask for a new variation. And it's quite straightforward. So Blue Willow is free. It's going to be in the description below or in the show notes below. Lexica.art, we covered it at the beginning. It started out as a prompt collection for Stable Diffusion. So you could find prompts which are generating nice images. So you could look at images. If you like an image, you can see what was the prompt. And they created their own model, own Stable Diffusion model. And you can also use it to generate images, but it's kind of like a freemium. So you can generate free images, but also you can pay to generate more if you need more images. This is kind of like the paid versions now. DALL-E is paid, and as you said, it's not the best, so it looks good, but if you look extremely closely, it's usually not that good. But as you explain, like outpainting feature is insanely good, so you can use that for sure. And there's obviously Midjourney, and it works the same way as explained with Blue Willow. So you have to use a Discord application, you write to a bot and those kind of things. And there are a lot of questions regarding.
Okay, just a few sentences here, Victor, because when I first started to use Midjourney, it was very complex and complicated, and the user face is not that intuitive. So the thing is, Midjourney is an 11 people company, so they are extremely small compared to what they already achieved. And they are not focusing on the UI and UX, but you can only interact Midjourney with this Discord, which is somebody doesn't know. It's like Slack, so it's a chat application. It's a little bit geeky. It got popular first in the gaming community, then crypto, then now it's more mainstream. So what you have to do is download or use it on the web, this Discord application, and you can interact with the Midjourney bot. And first, it's I don't know if it's free now or you have to pay a small amount just to test it.
Since there, I guess it was the selfies. No, it was actually the Pope. So when the Pope was generating wearing puff jackets and very hip fashion clothes, it went viral, and they had to transition to paid only because it was overwhelming on their servers.
So on the servers, you can see chat rooms where other people are generating photos or images. And the good thing is that you can see what people are generating and see their exact prompts. The bad thing is it's less user-friendly, so it's a little bit harder to find your images. But if you are paying user, which is the only option now, you can have a private chat with the Midjourney bot, and you can only see your generated images. So it's more user-friendly. And also, why do they do it? Because there is a strong community and people can get inspired by other people. So I think for the beginning, it was a fantastic idea. But I heard about some people who are very angry about this topic, that I don't want a community. I want just the good images. So it's not for everybody. And as far as I know, they are developing their website user face, or it will be live, I think not long in the future.
They have a website, but you cannot generate on the website. So on the website, what you can see is actually just the images of yours and the community and the best performing images. So kind of like what Lexicon.art is doing, but just for Midjourney. And it's quite neat how they started out. And I guess they understand what is the limiting factor of AI. And it's mostly not data. So in their case, it's human judgment and human taste. So it's extremely clever that they use Discord, because they don't have to develop anything. They just integrate to an existing software and it takes care of everything for them. And they can focus on actually what matters, and that's the model itself. We already covered it in AI episode, but just to recap quickly, they're generating 4 images and you have to choose one if you want to upscale them. So they have constant feedback. So with every single use, they have feedback of which of the 4 images they generated is the best. And since they have a lot and shitload of feedback, they are progressing quicker than anyone else. And that's genius. So they're not starting out as a proper web interface or API interface actually helping them. And from this playbook, actually the Google Bard learned a lot, because they provide 4 options for when you ask them to do something, and they can get feedback as well. So that's quite smart, because if each and every iteration of usage is providing feedback, then you are going to progress and converge faster to what humans feel like valuable. Because the alternative is what, for example, how ChatGPT was trained, is they needed manual feedback. So they use the model to generate 4 options, and they had to pay people to choose and rank the 4 options. And then from that, they can create a policy network which can actually understand that what is a human judgment. And with that reward network, you can fine-tune automatically any kind of model. So that's kind of like for the future. And if you are in AI tools and generating AI tools or models, putting a lot of thoughts into how users are going to interact with it, and being extremely mindful about getting feedback by each interaction. So in this case, in Midjourney, if you want a picture, here is 4, you have to choose. Obviously, you could like download it and slice it manually, but almost nobody is going to do that. So most importantly, most of the people are going to choose. And that's extremely powerful. And that's why with the version 5.1 which they have currently, the results are insane and through the roof compared to DALL-E or any kind of other tools.
For Midjourney, it's $10 per month, and you can generate about 120 photos, depending on some settings, but this is the rule of thumb.
You can pay also $30. With the $30 per month, you can keep on generating images. You just have to wait longer.
With this fast generation, it takes about 30 seconds to generate these 4 images from one prompt.
Yeah, right.
Okay, 2 last tools. First one is Canva AI. Canva is one of the most popular image editing tool. It's a web-based tool. And also Adobe Firefly, which again integrated in the actual image processors like Photoshop. And the good thing about Adobe Firefly is that they are trained on Adobe stock photos. So even if some copyright issues will come up with these AI generated photos, if somebody is using Adobe Firefly, this is the safest way.
Yeah, right. And the copyright issue itself. So I guess one of the main takeaways which seem to be emerging, that copyright can be only held by a person. So it's kind of like what is only generated by AI and no human is in the loop cannot be copyrighted. So that's kind of like what is emerging. But this is an emerging field. So that's kind of like the big takeaway. And most of the tools have commercial license attached to them. So whatever you generate with them, usually you are the owner and you can use it commercially.
Okay, so Victor, which one would you choose if money is not an issue for you?
Depends on the size. So if you are a small scale entrepreneur or developer or that sort, Midjourney is the best for sure. If you need scale, so you're on an enterprise level, then definitely go and build your own models, use Stable Diffusion, and then you have the API access, then you have full control, and that's the way to do it. And there are companies like Scale.com who helps you kickstart your journey. But obviously there are other companies as well. So in the enterprise case, either way go and in-house it. That's the best way, I guess. Or if you cannot do that, there are companies who can help.
Okay, let's go to chaining. What is it, Victor?
I kind of like want to make it explicit what we already did and talk about already. This is the most powerful secret, that you can chain tools together, like getting the research or getting the prompts from a chat AI and then put it in the AI image generators. But also we talked about SAD Talker, which can be used in A1111, Automatic 1111, which is a Stable Diffusion UI. So there's also a commercial service called d-id.com. It's going to be also in the show notes. So it's basically, it can use to generate moving and talking heads from still images. So what we did, we used Midjourney to generate a person or generate a character, and we used d-id to create a talking head. And then with 11 Labs, we can create the voice, but there are other voice AIs as well there. If you're interested, we can talk about that.
So this is what you can see in the beginning of our YouTube videos.
Yeah.
So the intro is generated with Midjourney, then animated with d-id, then the voice is generated with 11 Labs.
Yeah, and also we talked about Lumen 5. So that's kind of like chaining as well. So we generate with Midjourney and I use Lumen 5 to create this animated slideshow, as you put it. So that's kind of like the secret behind these tools, that you don't have to be smart and have to know everything about a field. You can actually use chat AIs to do research for you, to do variations for you, do expand prompts and those kind of things. And then you can put into image generators, and image generators can put into create like talking heads. So that's quite powerful already.
What else would you like to share with us, Victor?
Okay, I just want to talk about quickly the last topic, or 2 topics. One of the caveats or downsides of AI image generators and the future trends. So the caveat is like obviously privacy, like how these image generators are using your data. You have to be careful because each and every single service has a different privacy policy. So for example, if you are not paying a lot of money for Midjourney, so you pay only $10 to $30 per month, your images are actually searchable by the community and it's on your profile. You have to pay more to have private images. And something what changed in ChatGPT by OpenAI, that you can actually set conversation to private, and also if you use them through the API, they don't use the data to train it. So what I describe now as previously, that you have to have tight feedback loops. So when the users use it, you have to have feedback loops. That kind of have a downside. That's privacy. And there's also bias. So as you said, there is some cliches, but these cliches can be biases and it can be negative as well. So you have to be mindful about that. So the data which is used to train the models is kind of like setting the stage. And also the copyright, what we just mentioned, that AI is not a person can hold copyright. And there's a regulation in EU. So European Union is having a draft regulation for licensing every single model in the EU. And it's kind of have a pro side. So I would like to play the devil's advocate here, that it's indeed a big change. So a lot of people job will be displaced, and there should be a lot of care put into how we approach AI. So it's obviously very delicate subject, but also it has a downside like killing innovation. And for example, in Europe, you can compete on the worst stage, but it's definitely requires the opposite of regulatory hurdles. So for example, Bolt, which is an Uber competitor, which is in 45 countries and has had like more than $1 billion in revenue last year. It was actually founded by Markus Willig in Estonia at the age of 19 with 5,000 euros only. And it's insane. So I guess in any other country in Europe, with all the regulatory hurdles, just the legal counseling would cost an order of magnitude more at least than 5,000 euros. And you didn't write a single line of code with that. So in this case, Tallinn and Estonia, but especially the city of Tallinn, is quite friendly and makes it easy to test and drive things. So lowering the barrier to entry. And then they support you to create a regulatory framework to scale it in a responsible manner. So that's kind of like a way of how to compete with Uber on a worst stage. It's completely different what the European Union is doing with all the regulatory hurdles, and which is basically helping the big companies who don't mind to have lots of lawyers, and they already have lawyers at hand, so at least they can use them. So that's kind of like a touchy subject. Once again, I understand the pro side. So this is AI is a big change. So I don't want to downplay with that.
Bill Gates said what is happening now is in par with the change when internet happened and when software started and when social media started, right?
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at art throughout the history, right? So it's like painting, photography, digital photography, Photoshop, AI. It's kind of like each and every step through the way is like paradigm shifting, and it's completely changed the landscape. So I don't want to downplay that. But obviously, yeah, this is something outside our control. So yeah, we can yell at the cloud, but as I said previously, I completely understand and sympathize maximally with everyone who put in years and decades and dedicated their life to something, and then seeing it no more being a unique thing and anyone can copy them, and if they're smarter marketer, they can counterfeit their life's work, basically. That's not cool. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you embrace that, that's another direction which is resonating with me more personally, that, okay, you cannot beat them, join them. So as Grims is showing the way that, okay, actually, why not enable everyone to create AI songs with my voice, right? And then have a clear understanding of the split, what is included. So it's financially rewarding for everyone included. That's insane. And that's kind of like what I learned from my first Million podcast as well. So they paid $5,000 to people to post shorts on TikTok, and outsourcing creativity is insane. So people came up with solutions which otherwise the producers of the podcast wouldn't be able to, right? So that's kind of like the same thing, that if you let others to use your thing and be successful, and everyone in participating is winning, that's hard to beat, to be honest. So you won't be replaced by AI, you will be replaced by other people who are using AI.
Okay, Victor. So to finish this podcast, I would advise to all the disruptors who are listening to podcasts is start playing, start experimenting with image generators. So go Midjourney, go some of the free alternatives, and just start to experiment with prompts. And also, it can be very addictive. Some people reported that they spent more than 20 hours just generating images in one sitting. So be careful as well. But if you start it now, then you can be sure that you won't left behind.
And just for food for thought for the future, it's interesting thing that virtual reality, we thought that it's going to be rendered, meaning that it was constructed in a 3D software. Everything was constructed by hand, and that it rendered like basically a video game. That was the original thinking. And what seems to unfold here, the future will be generated on the fly, and it will be fine-tuned to your specific needs. And that's kind of like mind-blowing what's already possible in that regard. And also natural language now is a coding language, and this is showing into a direction where actually human thoughts are going to be a coding language as well. So now verbalizing things is kind of like the best current solution, but obviously not the optimal solution. So it has a low bit rate, it's very slow compared to if we specifically connected by our brainwaves to a computer. That's going to be certainly the future. And obviously Elon Musk has some work in this field, but also there are lots of experiments where fMRI images and also brainwaves are converted into images and those kind of things. So this is going to be definitely the way, the future. Even though it's clunky, even though we are not yet there, this is the future. So that's kind of like a thought for the listeners if you want to go ahead and stay ahead the curve.
Thank you very much. Bye.
And thank you for listening.
Did you enjoy this episode? Don't forget to subscribe and rate us, it really makes a difference. For all the insider info, including show notes and transcript, check out disruptordigest.com. Are you a part of a software as a service or a cutting-edge tech company with more than $1 million in revenue? We're offering a limited opportunity to a select few to accelerate growth. Visit artisan.marketing to learn more. See you next time.